The interviewer may ask you what is VLOOKUP or XLOOKUP, but maybe not. They will specify you a task and then let you answer that how you will approach the problem. One important thing to note here is that there would always be more than one answer to any problem. So if you tell the interviewer alternate solutions, then it shows your command over the subject and you would get more weightage in the selection process. Let's look at 11 such questions that you may encounter in an interview where the interviewer is testing your Excel skills. If you don't understand the syntax of the Excel function, I will be mentioning my other videos where I have explained the function in more detail. So let's move towards our first question. Question 1. I have 3 columns called house number, city name, and state. How to merge these 3 columns and make a column named complete address. In answer to our first question, we're going to see that how we can join house number, city, and state and form a complete address. For that, we are going to use concatenate function, ampersand sign, and text join to solve our problem. First, we are going to use the concatenate feature. I press equals to, write concatenate, press tab, and now I will select the first cell, then put a comma. Now I want a space in between the house number and the city. So for that, I will start the inverted commas, give one space by pressing spacebar, close the inverted commas, then put another comma, and then select the city name, then put a comma. Again, I want the space, so I repeat the process. I start the inverted comma, press one time spacebar, close the inverted comma, put a comma, and then I select the third cell and close the bracket and press enter. So here we can see now we have the complete address and details that comprises of information from 3 cells, that is house number, city, and state. I copy it, press shift and down arrow key and press enter, and here we can see that we have achieved our desired results. Next, we are going to see that how we can join the data using the ampersand sign. For that, I press equals to and select the house number cell and then put the ampersand sign. And now again, I want the space in between the house number and city. So I will start the inverted commas, give one time space, then close the inverted commas, put another ampersand sign, select the city, put another ampersand sign. Again, I will repeat the same process for giving the space, put another ampersand sign, and I will click on state, press enter. Again, I just copy and paste it down by Control C for copying and Control V for pasting it. Now for third way of joining the data, we're going to use text join. I type equals, text join, press tab. The first argument is going to be a delimiter. So I will start the inverted commas, give space, close inverted comma, then put a comma. Now the next option is whether I want to ignore or I want to keep the empty cells. So I want to ignore it. I type true. Now I will be selecting the range that I want to join. So I've selected all the cells. I close the bracket and press enter. Same, I copy it down, and here we have received the result as we received through concatenate and text join. Question 2. If I want to split full name column into first and last name, then how to do that? Note that it is extremely important that the interviewee ask questions from the interviewer, as this indicates that the candidate is well aware of the multiple scenarios that could arise when working on the dataset. This indicates the prowess on topic, so in this scenario, the candidate can ask, does the name contain first and the last names, or does it contain the middle name as well? Now, if we want to split the names into first, middle, and last names, so we have 2 options available. We will be using text to column and flash fill feature in Excel. Let's see that how we can do by using text to column feature. I press shift, control, and down arrow key for selecting all of my data. Now I go in data, and here we have an option of text to column. I click on text to column. I will be going with the delimited option. Now I press next, and here I want to separate the data on the basis of the spaces in between, as we can see the spaces over here. So I will click space, and here we can see that it has split our data into 3 columns on the basis of space. Now I press next, and as this is a text, so I will click on text option. This is also text, so I will click all 3 for keeping my data in text format. And now we need to give the destination. If I don't change the destination, it will rearrange the data in the original column as well. So I want to split the column starting from the cell here. And now I will press finish. And here we can see that it has distributed the data in the first, middle, and last names. Now next, we're going to use the flash fill feature in Excel. So how does it work? We're going to give the example in the first row. The first name is Emily Grace Anderson. And now as I've given the example, I will press Control E over here, press Control E, and then another Control E. So it copies the format as I have given in the first row, and it gives us the results as we require. If you want to see the detailed video on cleaning the messy data, you may click on the I button above or access the link in the description box. Question 3. If you have a large dataset and want to see headers while scrolling down, how will you do that? Now I have a large data set where if I scroll down, so I lose track what each of these columns mean. So if I want to fix the header row, I will go in cell A4, click on View tab, and here it gives me an option of freeze panes. I click on this, select freeze panes, and now if I'm going to scroll down, the first header row remains fixed. What if I move towards the right side and I can see that all of my data is lost? So for fixing, for instance, if I want the date and product column to appear at all times, I can just click on View, Freeze Panes. First I unfreeze it, and now I want to see the header row as well as the date and product columns at all times. So I will place my cursor over here, go in the View tab, and now I will freeze the panes once again. And here we can see that we have a line over here and the line over here. So anything above this line will remain stagnant, and anything behind this line will also keep on appearing no matter how far we scroll. So I scroll on the right side, and here we can see that the first 2 columns keep on appearing. Likewise, I scroll down so I can see that the first row, that is header row, remains stagnant and keeps on appearing. Question 4. How would you prevent other people from changing your sheet? Likewise, if I want to protect my sheet, now for example, I can change any data over here and it makes the changes. But if I don't want anyone to mess with my data, so I can lock the sheet. So for protecting the sheet, I will go in the Review tab, and here it says Protect Sheet. Now it is asking me for the password. Press OK, then another password, and then press OK. And now my sheet is protected. For example, if I type something over here and it gives me an indication that the cell or the chart you're trying to change is on the protected sheet. So likewise, if you want to unprotect it, we go again in the Review, Unprotect Sheet, and it is asking for the password that we gave it earlier. Press OK. So now if I want to make the changes, I can make the changes accordingly. If you want to see the complete tutorial on how to protect your sheet, then you may access the link in the description box or click on the I button above. Question 5. What Excel functions are you going to use if answer depends on multiple criteria? In this example, we will calculate the commission on the basis of multiple criteria. The first criteria is that any salesperson should have sold the quantity in excess of 75 units and the revenue should be above $1,000. So how we can do that? We will be using if and function, and we see that how we can solve a problem. So I type equals if, press tab, and then I will start and function to give multiple logics. So first logic is that I want this quantity to be greater than 75 I fix the cell by pressing F4, put a comma, and second criteria is that the sales amount should be greater than the $1,000. So for that, I click over here, greater than 1,000. I fix the cell by pressing F4 and I close the bracket. And now if the value turns out to be true, that is, if both of the criterias are met, so now I want the sales amount to be multiplied with the commission percentage. I fix this commission percentage as well. And if the criterias are not met, then I want the commission to be 0. So I close the bracket and press enter. Now I copy and paste it down. And here we can see that salesman A and salesman E meet the criteria. Remaining of the salesmen do not meet criteria. For instance, if we see over here that the salesman D over here meets the quantity criteria, but it is not meeting the sales amount criteria. If you want to see complete tutorial on how to use if, and, or functions, then you may access the link in the description box or click the I button above. Question 6. When does #any error appears when using VLOOKUP function and how you can avoid it? The problem arises as a result of not using the absolute referencing. Secondly, the lookup value does not exist altogether. Thirdly, if the lookup value is not placed in the column and that is on the left to the column from where we want to pick our data from, then the NA error appears. So we are going to see all of these three scenarios. I press equal sign, VLOOKUP, press tab. This is going to be the lookup value. I put a comma. Now this is the table array from where I want to pick the quantities. Column index number is going to be 3, 1, 2, and 3. Put a comma. I want an exact match, so I will select false. Press tab, close the bracket, and press enter. Now if I just copy and paste it down, so we can see that we have the not available error appearing over here. Our initial selection for the table array is over here, that is highlighted in red. But now if we see over here, we can see as we have copied down the formula, so the table array has moved incrementally. So how we can solve this? We go in the first cell, and here in the table array, I select the table array, and for absolute referencing, I press F4, and now we can see that the dollar sign has started to appear in front and after both of the alphabets. Now I press enter, copy it, press Ctrl, Shift, and down arrow key, and press enter. And now we can see that most of the errors have been resolved. We can see over here that the problem has been solved, except for one instance. So now we come to our second reason that the lookup value does not exist altogether. This SKU over here does not exist altogether in this table array. So as a result of that, it is bringing not available error. Now moving on to the third reason for having the NA error. Initially we saw that we have the lookup value on the leftmost column and the data that we wanted to pick was on the right side. But now we want to reverse the situation where we have the lookup value on the right side and the data that we want to pick is on the left side. So if I apply the VLOOKUP formula, this is the lookup value. Table array is going to be this, put a comma, column index number 3, and we want an exact match. Press tab, close bracket, press enter, and now if I just copy and paste it down, so I can see that it is giving me an error. So for tackling this form of information where you have the data set in which the lookup value is on the right side of the information that you want to pick, so you can use index and match or XLOOKUP features. Check my complete video on lookup functions where I've explained each and every aspect in detail. Question 7. My dataset has 3 columns: student name, subject, and scores. How can I find the sum of all scores for the single student? Well, in this example, I will be using SUMIF function to sum the scores on the basis of student name. So I create the list of the students over here. For that, I go in the data and data validation. And now I want to create a list of names, Source is going to be this information. I have 4 students over here. I press OK. So now we can see that we have the drop down of the students. So it makes it easy for me to change the student names. Now I will be applying the SUMIF formula to calculate the scores on the basis of student name. I press equal sign, then sum if, press tab. The range is going to be the student names. Select by pressing Control, Shift and down arrow key, put a comma, criteria is the student name, and the sum range is the score from where I want to total the scores. Close the bracket and press enter. And here we can see that the James Miller has got 304 score in total out of 400, which is 76%. If I check it manually, James Miller is over here, 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 and here. So it is giving us accurate answers. So if I change it from here, and it is giving me updated information. Question 8. For the same data set as seen earlier, how can I sum the scores for the students whose names are starting with alphabet M? Next, we are going to see that how we can total on the basis of single alphabet. For example, I want to total the score of students whose names are starting with the alphabet M. So for that, again, I will be using SUMIF function, but in combination with the wildcard character. So let's see how it works. I press equals, SUMIF, press a tab, and now the range, same as before, the student name, put a comma, and the criteria is going to be, last time it was student name, but now we want the students whose names are starting from M. I want the total for that. I write M over here, put an asterisk sign, close the inverted commas, put a comma, and now I will be giving the sum range, close the bracket, and press enter. So it is giving me the total of Michael Johnson and Mason Lee in total. So if we go in the formula, we can see in the criteria that we have placed M within the inverted commas because it is a text. In Excel, if you want to write the text, you need to keep it in inverted commas. And we gave the alphabet M because we wanted the students whose names are starting from M should appear over here in the total. And then we give an asterisk sign. An asterisk sign means that anything that comes after M is going to be accounted for. So this is how our formula works and gives us the total of students whose names are starting with M. Question 9. How can you highlight the dataset where the scores are above 80? And in the same dataset, in the column C, I want to highlight the cells that are in excess of 80. So we can select all of the cells by pressing Shift, Control, and down arrow key. And now I go in the Home tab, and here in Conditional Formatting, highlight cell rules greater than. I write 80 over here. If I want the same color, I can go with the same color, but I can select any other color from here, or I can go in the custom formatting, fill, and here if I want to select any of this color, it gives me a sample preview. I press OK and another OK. So we can see that all of the cells that were in excess of 80 have been highlighted. Question 10. I deleted something and now my Excel sheet contains many reference errors. What caused it and how to prevent it? Now, next we're going to see that why we received the reference errors. For example, if we go in the column E and if I press F2, so we can see that this is the product of cells from column C and column D. What if I delete any one of these columns? So now we can see it is giving the reference error because the cells that were involved in the calculation have been lost now. So preventing this, if we want to see that if any cell is dependent on this cell, so we can go in the formulas, and here in the formulas we have trace dependence. I click on this. Now it is showing me that this cell, that is E4, is dependent on D4. So if I want to remove it, I can go again in the formulas and remove the arrows. And if I want to see that this cell is dependent on which cells, either we can see from the formula bar over here, Or we can go in the formulas and trace precedence. And here it shows me that this cell is dependent on these two cells. Question 11. If I have large sales dataset containing columns of product, product category, date, and revenues, then how you can quickly analyze the data with minimum working. And here we are going to see that we have the data set and we are going to make a very quick analysis. So how is that possible? I go in the Insert tab, click on Pivot Tables, and now I want my analysis to be made on the new worksheet. I press OK, and here I get the sheet. Here we're going to build the pivot table. So let's quickly make some shape out of it. I want the company in rows and I want the worldwide revenue in values. And here I want the release date in columns. And I don't want this much of the data. It's showing too many years. I just want to make an analysis of last 5 years. So I can click over here. And here I will just select the last 5 years, press OK, and here we can see that we have the last 5 years appearing. I will just do a little bit of formatting over here. Go in Home tab, put a comma, remove the decimal places. And one more thing, I will just bring this data out. So now I have the data out over here. Just a little bit of formatting over here as well. So I have copied the same data. Now I will select this data, press Alt F1, and here we get the default chart. So it is showing the comparison of the two companies' revenue worldwide. And if we want to change the graph over here, so I just click on the chart area. And here it gives me an option of design and format. I go in design, change chart type, and here I want the line charts. Press OK. And here we can see it has quickly given me the information as I wanted. So now you can see that we have made the quick analysis in very short span of time. I have made multiple videos where I have explained each and every aspect related to pivot tables. For accessing, see description box. And moreover, you can also see in description box the video that is related to complete features of charting. Well, that's it. If you've liked the content, then make sure that you hit like, subscribe, share, and give your comments down below in the comment section. Your comments act as a navigation tool, so make sure that you guide me through your comments. Thanks for joining me. See you soon. Take care and bye-bye.